Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I am SamBrie Stitches here on Flosstube and Instagram. And this is another special edition of Interview with the Flosstuber. I am super excited to be here with Darcy Cameron. I was like, yay! Took a little toasting, but he's here. We're excited. So his channel is also Darcy Cameron, and you can find him on Instagram under Stitchman Darcy as well, and I'll link all that below. But he really took Flosstube by storm, I want to say, and it wasn't too long ago as well. He got many shout outs, lots of love, and his channel blew up, and it's amazing. It really is. I love his channel, one, because I can live vicariously through him. I don't stitch huge full coverage pieces. Typically, I do have one full coverage, but I like seeing how, you know, his grow and how he kind of shows the previous versus the current, which is kind of cool. He's very entertaining. He's very good at editing his videos. We were just talking about that. I'm not nearly as good, but I can add in pictures. And I just love how real he is, how true he is to himself, which is what really comes across in the videos, which is pretty cool. So again, I'll be linking all his information down below, so you all have to go check out his channel. But how are you doing today, Darcy?
I'm nervous, but I'm doing really well.
Well, I think this will go super easy. So
I'm sure it'll be fine.
We will jump into the questions. The first one is, why did you start a floss tube, and were there any particular motivations?
Well, I discovered, I don't know, I should have something prepared. I discovered Flosstube because I accidentally stumbled on Kyle Reckemeyer. And I didn't even know if he was a floss tube. It was just, I thought it was just some guy talking about his stitching. Yeah. And I don't know anybody who stitches except my mom. So I've never, even though I've been super passionate about it, I've had nobody to ever share it with. Mm-hmm. So once I discovered Kyle, and then through Kyle, I discovered like that floss tube was a thing. It's sort of like, I got like jazzed up to like, I want to be in there too. I want to be a floss tuber. Like I'd have people that I could like meet people or talk to people that actually also cared as much as I care about stitching, and maybe I could get to know some of them, or at least I would share my enthusiasm if I did something cool. So it took me 2 years to work up the nerve to actually start doing it. But I'm glad that I finally did, because it has been fun, and I have met like the awesome people that I thought that I might, and it's been a blast so far.
That's cool. Yeah. Once you get over kind of the nerves of doing the video, because I remember, you know, when I first started, I was like, I don't know. And it took a lot of encouragement from, you know, the group of ladies that down at Acorns and Threads that are floss tubers. It opens up like a whole new world in your life, really.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
It reaches so many people that you never would have even thought to interact with. You know, it's amazing. So we're very glad that you did it, even though it took
you. I am too, even though it took me forever. And even after I did that first video, like I sat on it for a while. I wasn't sure. I didn't think it went well. I was real nervous. It took me forever to do it. And like all the things in my head that I can't do it, it's bad, and all the things that go on in my brain. But I did it. I'm glad that I did it.
Look what happened after you did it.
Yes.
So much love.
Yeah, when I like fantasize about all the like amazing things that might happen, never actually thinking that it would actually happen, and then it did happen. It was really cool part. That's kind of surreal.
Yeah, I love it. So the second question is just a subscriber question, and they were just wondering if you had a blog.
I don't. I have tried to do that in the past a couple of times, and because a blog seems to me that like it's something that I would sort of like, it would be kind of up my alley, because it combines two things that I really love, which is writing and talking about myself. So you would think that like a blog is something that I would be able to keep up with and would go well, but I just, every time I've tried to do it, it peters out really quickly. So no, I don't.
Did you find that it was just a lot of work to keep up on, or you just didn't have the time to do it, or what for the blog?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really know what to write about. Like maybe if it was something specific, like a floss tube is like stitching specific, and then that branches off into whatever random thoughts pop into my head. But just to sit down and just write something, like, yeah, I don't know. I had a hard time just keeping it going and keeping it fun for me and entertaining for whoever might read it. So it just kind of always would peter out.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had a clear idea of what I wanted to do, and then that would branch off into other ideas, maybe, but I didn't really go in with much of a plan.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think very many people have blogs anymore. You know, I've done a lot of these interviews and not very many people actually keep up on a blog. So
Yeah, it used to be more of a thing. I used to follow a lot of and read a lot of blogs, but I don't even do that anymore.
yeah, I think social media like, you know, Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that have kind of taken the place of the blogs. So
Yeah.
yeah. So how long have you been stitching and how did you learn to stitch?
I was in grade 4, and I don't really remember like all the circumstances around why this was happening, but we had these little art stations in school and we had to pick one. I don't know why. Like, I didn't want to pick any of them because I don't ever want to do anything, but I had to pick something. And at least I kind of knew what cross stitching was because my mom was a cross stitcher.
Yeah.
So I kind of at least knew what it was. And I'm sure there was somebody in there that was a friend of mine that also, like, there must have been some reason why I picked it. And I took to it right away. Like, to my surprise, I really liked it. I was really good at it. I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to do more of it. Then, like, I remember stitching this tiny little horse. It was like a Christmas ornament, and that's all I ever had to do if I wanted to just stop there. But I kept doing it on my own after that, and I knew that my mom really liked cross stitching too. So that became like a thing that would be I could do one for her and give it to her for Christmas, and that became like a thing that I would do every year for a really long time. Right up until a couple of years ago, actually. Most of the stitchings I've ever done, I've given to my mom. I've only kept a couple for myself.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's however long that works out to. Grade 4 is probably like close to 30 years ago now. That's how long I've been doing it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. So that has to be neat because I'm sure your mom, you know, had them displayed. And so when you visited or whatever, you could see like all of your pieces through all the years and how you progressed and everything.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Actually, I have one of my videos. It's my least viewed video, but if anybody wants to go back and search through my archives, I went to her house and I went through them in order. So you could kind of see the progression of like where I started and where I ended up. Like a tour of her house and the 30 stitchings that I've got all over her walls or however many there are. It was pretty fun to do.
I gotta go check that out. That's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I'd never actually gone through them like in order like that and thought about my memories of doing them or whatever. It was fun to do.
Yeah, see, that's what I love. And I say it on almost every interview is, there are pieces that just have those memories and emotions and everything attached to them. You have like 30 something pieces that all have that story attached to it. That is amazing. It
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And for a long time I was doing it fast enough that I was doing one per year. Every Christmas I'd give her one until they got too big and I couldn't finish one and I was going to get too busy and I was an adult and I had a job, so I couldn't do it every single year anymore. But for a while it was every year. So she's got a lot.
Was she bummed the past couple of years?
Well, the last one I gave to her was the Christmas, like my son was born in December of 2018 and I rushed to finish one for her before he was born. I wanted to finish it before he was born and I gave that to her for Christmas of 2018. And both of us kind of knowing that might be the last one for a really long time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Adulting and having children and all that, it gets
yeah. And I know I've got a whole bunch on the go now that I'm doing for myself. I could throw one in for her and just be picking away at it, which I might do, but I don't know. I don't know when the next one's going to be. Like, let's give it at least 5 years before you even expect another one, because I don't know what it's going to be like taking care of a baby.
You could surprise her, just throw it in there and just surprise her. She won't be expecting it. So.
That even something like that is like, because she watches my floss tubes. So how do I do that? Am I going to have to tell her not to watch them or like make an announcement? Mom, tune out here or skip ahead 5 minutes or I don't know.
I wouldn't do that. I would still watch because I'm not very good with surprises.
I know. She probably would too.
Definitely not good at that.
Yeah.
Well, there are people that say that they're working on a secret stitch that they can't show because people watch it. So always something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could probably do that, but whatever. Maybe just let her see it and I'll just give it to her when it's done. I've got some picked out that I would probably do for her, but maybe I should throw one of those in.
That's so cool. So this is one of my favorite ones, and it is, what is your favorite project that you've stitched so far?
My favorite one now that it's done is it was a Mystic Stitch pattern called Snowman and Black Cat.
Oh.
It's my favorite one to look at, like now that it's done and hang on the wall. But it was one of my least favorite ones to actually do because it was a Christmas. No, but it could have been more enjoyable. But it was a Christmas present for my mom, and I didn't start. It was really big, and up to that point, I hadn't done anything that big before, and I didn't start it until about August. So I only gave myself about 3.5 months to do it start to finish. And I was working full time at the time. So every free possible second that I had, I was working on it. I even took a week or two off work I remember in that November to just like, the second I wake up until I can't keep my eyes open anymore. I was just like frantically. So it was really stressful to try to like get it done for Christmas. I can't even believe that I actually did it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I didn't really enjoy the process of doing it because I put too much pressure on myself to hurry up and do it. But once it's done, and even now to this day, whenever I go to her house, I always stand in front of it and stare at it. And like, I really like that one.
Well, because you're proud too. You put so much work and you finished it.
Yeah. So I can't believe I finished it that fast. Like knowing even now, even when I think I'm going fast, it's like, I did it start to finish in 3 months. It's crazy. I can't believe I did that.
That's crazy. That's a lot of stitching.
It was like every free second that I could muster, I was stitching. It's really consumed my life for the fall.
And it's so funny that you took like 2 weeks off just so that you
Yeah, I remember it being November and I was working in my office at the time, and I told my boss, like, you don't even have to pay. I can take it unpaid if I don't have vacation. Like, but I need like a couple of weeks to just do this or I'm not going to finish it.
That's awesome. Were they supportive?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
No big deal. Somebody will cover for you or whatever.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yeah, it worked out well.
That one has to be like the one that has the most meaning. You put so much time, because the full coverage pieces, I'm working on one that my husband just will not let me not stitch. He just gives me so much crap if I'm not stitching on it at some point. He's like, those aren't my elk. And it's a full coverage. Oh, you have no idea. I'm like, why don't you stitch it? But it's a full coverage and it's huge. And I use Pattern Keeper, and I think it's like a little over 17% now. And it's in an 11 by 11. So it's almost an 11 by 11 at 17%. And I'm like, it's going to take me forever.
Yeah. It's
not a full coverage person. Not at all.
Especially with stuff like that, they can you just kind of have to have patience and trust that like, I'm doing this is going to be a piece of this finished thing that is like essential to make it look as good as it did. Because the one that I just finished now, like the huge one that I finished a few days ago,
I saw that. Yeah.
I went months and months and months just doing black and blue background, and it was nothing, and it was months. And I'm just like, I just have to believe that I'm doing this for a reason because I was just losing my mind.
Yeah.
I just see like a tuft of hair or something.
Yeah, I've noticed, because I look at a lot of the heaven and earth design pieces, and I think I'd like to do the ones that have no background.
Yeah.
Fill in. Nope.
Yeah.
At least on my elk, there's trees and all that kind of stuff that start to make an appearance, so it's not solid stitching yet. So
when I look at that kind of stuff, sometimes when I think it's like even a whole page of just one big blocky color, I'm like, oh, that's going to go pretty quickly. But I hate that. I'd rather be doing stuff that's more like confetti and like a picture of something, or changing. Like I actually feel like it goes quicker and I see more of it than just like, hey, I can just mindlessly do this one color. But I actually don't like doing that. Yeah. I find it goes slower and I just get zoned out and I don't enjoy it as much.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. I try to save solid stitching for like my Zoom meetups, or on breaks at work when people are talking to me, because that way it's I'm not just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that 100%. So
yeah.
So what do you enjoy most about stitching?
Well, I was thinking a lot about this one, and what I came up with is I really enjoy, I don't know if this is going to sound bad or not, but I really enjoy that it's something that I can do alone, and that nobody else can even really do with me, even if they like, it's a solitary activity. So like, you could be in the room with me doing your own stitching or your own knitting or whatever, and like, it doesn't mean that I have to shut you out of the room, but you can't do it with me. And I don't want you to do it with me. I want to do it by myself. I like doing things by myself. This is like, so I don't have to like insult anybody by like, no, I don't want you to do it, or no, I don't want you to help me, or like get away from me, because there's nothing for you to do. It's a one person job, and I'm the one person, and you can do whatever you want near me, but you're not doing this. Leave me alone. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I know. I totally get that, because that's the same with us. You know, we have a full size downstairs, and I have one side that's my stitching area that I have, you know, my love seat and all my stuff on. And then my husband has the other side, and he plays, you know, Warcraft on the TV. And we're in the same room, but I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, and he knows kind of most of the time just to leave me be, and we kind of are together, but we're separate.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You can be together
Yep.
and still doing separate things. I miss you just saying that, maybe like I so miss having like a stitching nook that is like always set up with all of my stuff in it, because once Dylan was born, I couldn't do that anymore because he would just destroy it or eat my needles or whatever he would do. So every single time now I have to like, and I'm pretty picky about like my whole setup and like where everything is and all that kind of stuff. So I have to set it up and dismantle it every single time I get an opportunity to stitch. Like I don't want to wish my time away, but I daydream about the day where like I could just leave it there and know that he won't destroy it.
Few more years.
Yeah.
He's the one that they have to go back and watch your video when your floss got destroyed.
Yes. Yes, because I kept it in the living room in drawers, and he really didn't care about opening the drawers or exploring them. I knew that was dangerous because maybe eventually he'll open these drawers. But yeah, and I know I got some like questions even from my mom about like, well, weren't you watching him? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't hover over him all the, like, he was right next to the kitchen. I was in the kitchen making him oatmeal or something like that. And I turn around and suddenly there's floss everywhere. Like I'm not on top of him all day long. I'm near him and close enough to him, but I don't helicopter over him.
Right. Yeah.
But as soon as I turn my head, you wouldn't believe what you could get into. You could turn your head for 3 seconds.
They are quick. Very quick. Yes. Yeah, that was hilarious in that video. People need to go back and like binge watch all your videos, because there's so many funny parts in all of them. Oh, love it. So we're gonna get out of stitching talk a little bit and kind of learn a little bit more about you. This is, what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
I don't necessarily, I love movies. I like for a long time, movies were like my thing. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I was just like Mr. Movie. I don't really have a favorite genre as long as it's a really good movie. I do have favorite directors. I like Stanley Kubrick, and I like Paul Thomas Anderson, and everybody my age loves Quentin Tarantino, like people like that. So whatever movies they make, I really like that. I do love a good horror movie. Contrary to like my silly personality or whatever, I love a really good horror movie. Books, I tend to gravitate more toward silliness. That seems to be like more in line with my personality. Like, I don't know if you know who Christopher Moore is. He's one of my favorite authors. He writes a lot of foolish type books. A Confederacy of Dunces is one of my favorite books. Like books that are really good but also really funny and silly and kind of whimsical or offbeat. I like that kind of stuff. Kurt Vonnegut is another author I really like. Slaughterhouse-Five and some of the weird stuff that he wrote.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So kind of opposites. You like horror movies but fun books.
I do love a real, like a good, not just any random like slasher movie, but a really good horror movie like The Shining or The Exorcist, or there's one that was made a few years ago called It Follows, which not a lot of people heard about, but I really liked it. It was really like, it's really good. Like, it doesn't have to be an old classic to be great. So they do make great movies now if you can find them.
Yeah, there's the horror movies are the kind of the iffy one for the current ones, but I'll have to check that one out because my girls like the scary movies too. So
yeah, my wife does not like scary movies, so it's hard to watch them. Sometimes like she has to be in bed or I put headphones on and watch it or something like that. I'm trying to ease her in. I've almost convinced her to watch The Shining with me. The last time I mentioned it, she said she would watch it. So I'm trying to get that done as quickly as possible before she changes her mind.
That's a good doorway movie.
Yeah.
Movies. That's a good doorway one.
Yeah.
Good choice. So what fictional place would you most like to go to?
Well, it's going to have to be Wonderland. Darcy in Wonderland, chasing rabbits and growing and shrinking and smoking with caterpillars and having tea with crazy people. It sounds like a blast.
Oh,
I can't really think of any other place
yeah,
that I would like to go.
that's perfect. I think somebody else had wanted to go to Wonderland too, and I think I would want to go to the tea party. The tea
Yes.
party would be my thing.
A tea party looks awesome.
Yeah. So if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
I had a hard time with this one too. Because like in real life, if I could choose to do anything for a day, it would probably just be I just want to be alone and stitch all day and not worry about anything. If I could just go one day without worrying about anything, that would be great.
I think we're all right there with you.
Yes. If I could do absolutely anything, I'd want, I know this is probably going to sound like I'm an 8-year-old boy, but I'd want to explore outer space and like be like an astronaut or like somebody from Star Trek and just be like, because when I get really excited about like the universe and like forget about even Earth or even our solar system and how big it is and how much there is out there. And like the idea that I'm stuck on this little blue marble and I'm never going to get off seems like such a, not a waste, but like there's like, how can that be? This I'm never gonna see anything else. I want to get out there and see other things, even if I don't see anything. Let's just fly around and like fly out there in space. Like that would be great. I would love to do that.
Yeah, I love that because I've actually thought about that too. Just how vast it is and how I don't think we will never ever know like all that's out there because it's so unknown and so big and so crazy and
And when you see how tiny the Earth is in comparison to everything else, and like even if you explored every inch of the Earth, it just doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah.
It's just this tiny little speck.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
Captain of the Enterprise. That's me.
Maybe someday, like years and years from now, we'll actually have something pretty similar to that. I mean,
I hope so.
Spaceships.
Maybe not in our lifetime, but maybe someday.
Yeah. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So do you have any other hobbies besides cross stitch?
I do like to write a lot, and I do like to make videos, which is another reason why Flosstube is a perfect thing for me, because it combines all three: writing and stitching and making videos. I do like doing all those things. I also, movies, I already sort of talked about movies, and baking. I like to bake. I bake really good cookies, and I bake bread and cinnamon buns and muffins, and I do like to bake. I get Dylan up there with me stirring the stuff and trying to teach him how to do it too. That's fun.
That's cool. Well, it's good bonding time too.
Yeah.
You started young in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's so neat. This is, I'm excited. I hope that did you reach out to friends to see how they would describe you? I was waiting for this question.
I did reach out to one friend.
Okay.
But he's somebody who he just responded with a whole lot of insults and vulgarity because that's just how we talk to each other. So nothing that I could probably even repeat here, which is exactly what I was expecting from him.
That's a sign of a good friendship.
Yes. Although the one thing that I could repeat that he said, he described me as, he said, incapable of reciprocating friendship. He's always asking me to do stuff or can you bring me a coffee or whatever, and I always have an excuse not to. I don't know. But if you took a poll of people who know me, words that came up pretty frequently would probably be funny and good-hearted and awkward. Awkward is a word that I've heard a lot throughout my life from a lot of people. So I don't know if I come across that way or not, but in real life I do. I am quite awkward.
Don't come across awkward in the videos at all, but
if you saw the raw unedited footage, you might.
Behind the scenes footage.
Yes, sometimes they're twice as long as the finished product because I've cut out so much stuff.
Yeah. Well, you really are good at editing, though. I mean,
thank goodness.
So entertaining, bringing people into your videos and all that kind of stuff. So
editing has always been one of my favorite things to do. To any opportunity, to somebody need a fun video for a birthday or something like that. I love editing because you have so much fun, and you can take something that looks like garbage and like, what is this? This is nothing. But you can edit it into something good. And it's like, it's awesome. It's really exciting when you see that happen, like to compare where you end up from where you started. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Editors
technology.
are like magicians.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, you do a great job. So
Oh, thank you.
glad that you enjoy it.
I do.
So we're gonna get back into stitchy talk a little bit. And this is like, how do you prefer to stitch? Do you use a hoop, a Q-snap, that kind of stuff?
I use a Q-snap, although I only discovered Q-snaps a few years ago. And like the idea that I like discovered a new thing that became my new thing, because it's really hard for me to get me to try new things. But for most of my life, I used a hoop. But when I tried the Q-snap, I instantly really liked it. And that was it. That was the end of hoops right from the start. So like I fully Q-snap. I have a lamp that sits over my left shoulder and shines down on my stitching. And it has to be on over my left shoulder, because if it's over my right shoulder, my shadow from my arm covers what I'm doing.
That makes sense.
So I'm very particular about which light I use and where it goes. It's hard for me to set up sometimes in other places if I'm not in my spot, because I have to try to recreate my spot in another place.
That makes sense, because I have a light over my right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. It has to be over my right side because I stitch left-handed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's funny. Yeah, I'm a Q-snap person too. Do you find it's easier with your full coverage pieces now that you use, the Q-snaps to keep it tight and have like a bigger area than the hoop? Yeah.
Yes, and I was constantly, when I was using a hoop, I was constantly tugging around the edges of it to try to keep it tight. But I had no idea that like once I learned how to do it as one way, a certain way with these like tools, I never even thought about looking to see, well, what else is out there? What else? Like hoops were all there. I didn't know there was anything else. I didn't even know for a long time that there were different sizes of hoop. I would just, when I discovered, especially when I was doing full coverage things and I discovered that there are bigger hoops than I was using, that was like a whole new world for me. Whoa, I can fit so much more in this hoop. Right? I didn't even know. I have such like a lack of curiosity or something. Like, I don't know why, because when I find new things, often those become my new routine and my new thing. But I just like, okay, I use this and I do it this way. And I don't want to hear about anything else.
Yeah. And there, sometimes that works. Did you learn about all that new stuff from Flosstube, or just like accidentally upon searching?
I think I just happened upon a bigger hoop when I was in Michael's one day, and I was like, what? They were like tiny ones and there were huge ones. And I was like, what is this?
Love it. That's so cool.
Q-snaps, I think I learned from Flosstube. And for a while, even that, I heard people talk about them, and I'm just like, my mind would just glaze over, like, yeah, whatever. And until I actually saw somebody like use it, and I'm like, well, maybe I will try that. And even now, I'm still like that, because I hear people talk about like lap stands or like floor stands or whatever, like, or scroll frames, and I'm still doing the same thing of like, I'm just tuning you out. I've got my Q-snap and I'm not even listening to you right now. I'm not. Why don't you try this, or why don't you try that? I don't want to try it.
If it works for you, like the Q-snap, do you stitch in the well, or do you have your fabric on the top when you stitch?
It's in the well.
In the well?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, not very many people, like, because when I post my pictures on Instagram, I've had people ask me about that, and I'm like, it's easier to finish on the back if it's in the well, because you don't have the the bars to block you and stuff like that. So not very many people do that. So do you have like a preferred fabric, since you stitch full coverage, that you typically kind of lean towards?
Well, this is another one of those non-branching out things. I learned on Ada, and I've only ever used Ada.
I'm an Ada only stitcher too, so it works.
That was one of those things with Flosstube that I didn't even know there were other things, or what those other things were. And like, maybe like I've kind of mentally anyway got to the point where if I do something that's not full coverage, maybe I'll try something else, maybe linen or something, or like maybe I will branch out a little bit, but I haven't done that yet. And I've only ever stitched on Ada, because that's all I thought that's all there was.
Yeah. Well, and over the years, since you've been stitching for so long, and I think I've been stitching for almost 23 years, we really only knew about Ada. That's what you saw in like the big box stores where you could get your stuff, and now that there's Flosstube and Etsy and all these people who dye fabrics, the progression has changed quite a bit, and it's opened up new worlds, but I've not ventured. I 18 count Ada. I have a ton of fabric stash, and I don't want to try anything else because I don't want to like it. I don't want to,
You sound
have
just
to
like
build
me.
up another stash. I like my 18 count.
Yes.
But yeah.
You sound just like me.
Yeah.
18 count Ada. I love it.
Yep. That's my jam.
I like working on it. I like the coverage of it. I used 14 count for a while.
Yeah.
And I found that, like, especially when I started doing full coverage, that sometimes if you get really close, like you have to get like, like what do you do? Like, who would ever get an inch from like the thing if it's hanging on the wall, like stick your face right up against it? But I do that.
I do that with mine too.
I could see the Ada in behind, like the stitches weren't covering enough if I got that close to it. But once I started using 18 count, I didn't notice any of that anymore. I liked it a lot better for that.
So 14 count, obviously you use 2 strands. 18 count, do you still use 2 strands or do you use 1? You do 2?
I still use 2. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I do 1 strand because I kind of like, since I use like the dyed fabric, kind of like to see it a little bit behind the pieces, but.
Yeah, that's another, like if I used anything other than white Ada, maybe I would want to see it. Someday I'll try that. I really want to start Jacob's 2021 stitch along, and I have it. He keeps sending me the pieces of it, but I don't know what I'm gonna stitch it on, or I don't have like, I don't want to do that on white Ada. I want to do it on something a little fancier, but now the months keep going by and I keep not starting it. So I don't know. I'll have to figure out something if I'm ever going to start that or do it, what I'm going to do it on.
I think you're creative enough to where you could probably dye a piece of fabric if you have like white Ada in your stash or whatever, and come up with a cool color.
Maybe. Maybe if I watched a tutorial, at least I wouldn't ruin the actual, if I just ruined a blank piece, I wouldn't feel so bad about that. I'm still worried about washing my Heaven and Earth that I just finished, because it is dirty. And it would benefit from washing it, but I'm so scared to do that. I just feel like I'm going to ruin it.
It should be fine if it's DMC, but
that's what everybody tells me. But I just have visions that like work on it for 8 years and then ruin it.
Yeah, no, I've never washed any of my pieces because I'm the same way. Just because, and here I am telling you if it's DMC, it's fine. Because that's what they say, but I've never washed any of my pieces, but I've never really finished like a full coverage. I finished a sampler, but that's dyed fabric and fancy floss. So no, I'm right there with you. Maybe like a little spot in the corner or something, test it out.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do something like that. Test it first. I've never washed anything either, and but I've never noticed that anything really, even though it probably is, but I've never noticed that anything looked obviously dirty. Even that the one that I just finished the stitching part of it doesn't look dirty to me, but the fabric all around it is filthy. So it must be dirty. It probably would at least benefit. I've been hauling it around since 2012 from place to place.
Yeah. I mean, if you frame it right up against the stitching, it's fine because the dirty is underneath. So
yeah.
you'll never see it.
Yeah, I've had them done like that before, where you can see like fingerprints and hand marks all around the edges, but then they get framed and you don't see that stuff anymore. So who cares?
Yep, that makes it easier. Yeah. Do you have a favorite place that you've traveled, and did you bring stitching along when you went?
I haven't. Like, I'm not exactly a world traveler. I haven't gone to a whole lot of places, but I have been to Toronto a few times, and I love Toronto, mostly because this is another one of those things that makes me just sound like some kind of hermit. But I don't particularly love being around people, and even though there's like millions and millions of people in Toronto, it felt like I was more anonymous in a big group like that. Like I could sort of like fade into the crowd, and nobody, like I kind of felt comfortably alone in the huge city. That like, I know that people aren't like staring at me, or like it's not all about me, like look at that guy, look how tall that guy is, or look at his goofy hair or whatever. Like I know that people aren't actually doing that, but in Toronto they're definitely not doing that. Like nobody notices, nobody cares. So I felt like even though there was a lot of people around me, that I felt like I could be more comfortable to just enjoy the things because I didn't feel self-conscious about anything. Nice. So I really liked her. I like a big city like that. I don't feel like that in my own city. I always feel like I'm going to run into somebody, or noticeably taller than everybody else and I stand out. I don't like to stand out. Like, unless it's like something like Flosstuber, if there's a reason for me to like draw attention to myself and stand out, then I'm pretty good at drawing attention and standing out.
And
If that's the
it
goal.
on purpose. Yeah,
Yes.
you're doing it on
But
purpose.
yeah, in everyday life situations, I'm not that guy that walks into a room and like all the attention has to be on me. I would usually rather just like melt into the corner and just listen to everybody.
That makes sense. So do you take stitching out and about, or
I
is that,
have.
yeah.
I have done that, except I don't remember any situation, even just like go to a cabin and camping or whatever, like where I've actually worked on it. So I don't really do that anymore if I'm going to go anywhere, because I never end up working on it anyway. We're there to hang out or with a bunch of people, or we're doing other things, or even more than that, I don't have my spot. The setup is all wrong. The couch is wrong. The chair is wrong. The light is wrong. Everything's wrong. So I just don't enjoy it as much. So if I go anywhere, unless I was going to go for a really long time, if it was just like a few days or a week, I probably wouldn't bring it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I find difficult is because you stitch on the larger full coverage pieces, unless you have like a small traveling piece. My husband and I just went away to the beach for a couple of nights, and his new stipulation is that his elk piece has to go with us to the getaway. I can't bring any other stitching to work. And so I can work on something small in the car. So I did some fill-in in the car because I can't do a full coverage. But I'm trying to explain to him how much of a pain in the butt that is, because I have like 90 colors that I've got to bring. I've got this big piece. I've got to bring my tablet. I've got to bring my light and all this other stuff. And he's not comprehending.
Yeah.
So, and the stitching spot there it's stitching in bed basically, because you've got the nightstand. And so for you, I can say that because you have your spot and all your full. I know how much of a pain it is to pack up a full coverage.
Yeah. It is, even going to bed at night when I'm like, okay, like I'm done for the evening or whatever. It's like 3 or 4 trips back and forth to where I'm putting it away. I can't do it all at once.
Yep. It's a lot of work. So yeah, I totally get that. Do you stitch smaller pieces like at all, or do you just really like the full coverage, bigger size?
I have, like in the past, I've stitched smaller things, but then like once I sort of discovered full coverage, I like the way it looks, and I like I don't know, I just really liked it, and those were the ones that I started giving to my mom. I didn't even do one for myself until I was in my late 20s.
Oh wow!
I started discovering things that like, maybe I should keep one for myself. I really like this one. I really like this. I don't think my mom would like this one, but I like it. Why not keep one for myself? so yeah. I don't know. Okay. I kind of want to get back into a little bit of like, I wouldn't be opposed to doing something smaller, but it's another one of my tunnel vision things of like, I like heaven and earth, and I like these full coverage things. I've got a stack of them built up already. So those tend to, when I start something new, tend to be the ones that I just dig through my stack, and that's all that I have.
Yeah.
People have been sending me other things though, to like other options. And I do like other things. I'm not some kind of like, I can only do heaven and earth. I can do other things if I find something I like.
I'll do. Yeah, that makes sense. And there's a lot of floss tubers that just do full coverage, videos. There's a whole like niche out there of just that. So, and I love watching those. So, because there's those of us that don't really do it, that like to live vicariously through others.
Yeah.
So
I do also really like doing it.
Yeah.
I like full coverage. I like stitching them full cover, and I love them when they're done. Even sometimes if they take years, like I've got patience. I know it's going to look good when it's done. So I don't mind sitting there and doing it even when it gets monotonous, because I know it's going to be awesome when it's done.
I need to try that. You don't have any idea how many heaven and earth patterns I actually own. Like I've bought the PDFs because I love the picture.
Yeah.
And I've started one that is years ago that I haven't touched, but maybe you've inspired me. Maybe I'll see if I'll go through my PDFs and maybe try another one.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. You can also, I don't know if like this might just be common knowledge or like, but I have told this to a couple of people who didn't know this, that you can request a mini version, and like their minis are still like pretty decently sized, like usually like 300 by 250 or something like that. Like it's still a pretty decent size, but there are some that I have that like are full, like, 500 by 600 or even bigger than that, then I'm like, I really like it, but I don't want to put 5 years into this or whatever. But they'll make a mini out of it for you. And like, I've decided a lot of the mini ones that I own are ones that I specifically asked them to do for me. I didn't just like browse and find them. I asked them if they would do it. Yeah.
Cool. I might do that. I do own a few minis. So question then. So, the full size Heaven and Earth designs, they have so much detail. And the minis, do you lose a lot of that detail? Have you noticed that at all?
Well, I don't have like I guess a side by side to compare.
Yeah.
But the minis that I've done, I haven't really like
That's good detail.
I don't know if I can like. I don't know if you want me to get up and show you right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, why not?
Right here beside me. This John Lennon. Right here.
Wow.
That's a mini.
That's a mini?
Yeah. So it doesn't like you might be losing some detail from like
what
the huge one would probably be, but I don't think noticeably enough that
okay. Because I'm like, I own minis. I've bought the minis because I'm like, that is more doable for me.
Yeah.
But then I always wonder how much detail, because it, with the colors and everything. But oh my God.
That's the big one would have been like 3 or 4 times bigger than that. It would have taken me forever. This one took me about a year, I think.
Seriously, insane. I thought that was like a regular size.
No, that's the mini version.
That's freaking amazing.
Yeah, so I don't feel like they lose that much detail, and it's like, especially if it's one that you like, I really like this one, but I don't want to put that much time into it. I don't think that it's so much detail lost that it would be that I would still do the mini version. All
right. Yeah. I'm gonna go through my PDFs and see what I'm excited about. You have inspired me. So we'll see which one I figure out. I think I'll start one though. So we'll see. Let's see where we're at, because we got off the questions.
I know. I thought I was gonna have one word answers, and I feel like I've been going on and on and on.
Oh, this is awesome. So we are at what can you not do without for your stitching, like your favorite go-to? And I know you've probably alluded to it.
Well, knowing this question was coming up, I do enjoy stitching with one of these next to me.
Yes.
That's always been a go-to for me. Although I have had a few times where I've had a couple of too many of those and then had to like, who was stitching on this last night? What did I do here?
Yep.
You have to watch that. But the one thing that I really can't do without is like a laptop or tablet or something like that. Like I just can't go back to stitching with pattern on my knee and like looking at an actual pattern. Like once I discover that I can have a PDF on my screen and I can zoom in on it, like maybe I could deal with a pattern for like an evening or something if that was like my only option just for that one evening. But in general, I could never go back to that. I have to have a screen.
Yeah,
it's so much easier. And I don't even use Pattern Keeper, which everybody tells me is even easier than what I'm doing. I literally just zoom in on a PDF.
So yeah, like that's what I do on my iPad, because Pattern Keeper doesn't work on Apple products. So I'll zoom in because I'm the same way. I have to have like my iPad or my phone or something with me. I can't look off of a paper. But man, you have not tried.
I haven't. I want to. I'll do it eventually.
I know it's outside of your. Yeah.
And I feel like I've got this routine and this way that I do it. That like when I discovered this like years and years ago, that I could zoom in on a PDF and I can even highlight it as I go. That like I thought that I was like this was cutting edge, like like everybody else is still with their paper patterns, and now I'm like the leader of the new technology, and now I'm the one that's left behind. You're not even using Pattern Keeper. You're just zooming in on a PDF. Like. That came from the snowman one that I was talking about that I stressed out about trying to finish for Christmas. I did that with paper on my knee and with the 3 months of like frantic stitching. And I'm just like, once I got it done and I was actually like finished with it, I'm like, something has to change. I'm never doing this again. I'm not like that in that short amount of time. And the pattern itself with like these full pages of just black and white nonstop. There's got to be a better way. That was the last one I ever did with a pattern on my knee.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever go back to that, because on paper, you know, they have those magnifying little strips or whatever that I'd have to or blow it up or something. Technology is amazing. Yeah, because you can just zoom in. But Pattern Keeper for full coverage, because I put the elk piece into that, and you know, it just highlights all of this, you know, stitches of that color. And for me, it's a game changer, because that's really my first full coverage piece. For you, you're like a full coverage pro, so like you you just do it. So you know, but it was a game changer for me. Oh my gosh, game changer.
That's what everybody keeps telling me. I should just give it a try.
Hey, I'm gonna try starting a full coverage. You should try Pattern Keeper. That should
all right, I'll try it. Even just the full coverages that are like sectioned off in squares, and like that even that kind of stuff was a game changer for me, because I did a lot of my earlier full coverages ones the old way of like fold my fabric until I find the middle, start in the middle and work my way out. And I had no way of keeping track. I didn't even highlight on the paper. I would just remember where I was. Wow. So next time I picked it up, I would just have to like remember the last thing that I did and just keep on going. So once I even got it like sectioned off and start in the top corner and work that way, even just from paper, that was a game changer for me. So I don't know. All the new things that I've tried have always become my new thing. So I don't know why I'm resistant to Pattern Keeper that everybody tells me is like, they can't believe I'm not using it.
Yeah, it was honestly a game changer for me. I think that's the only reason why I'm actually stitching on that elk piece, is just because it's made it so much easier for me, just to be able to follow it, you know, and it's amazing. At some point when you're comfortable, you should try it.
I'll try it.
When you're ready for something new. So this is kind of a fun one. How do you decide on what you're going to work on next?
Do you mean both? Like which whip am I going to work on that evening, or which new thing am I going to do in like once I finish the thing and start a new thing, or does it matter?
I don't think it really matters. It's just kind of like, what do you decide on what you're going to work on, you know, after you're done stitching on whatever you're stitching on, whether you want to start something new or what whip you would grab?
Well, as far as like whips that I'm like going to grab, I'm still pretty brand new to multitasking. It wasn't until I started floss tubing that I even worked on multiple things at the same time. I only ever worked on one thing at a time. So I'm still kind of new to the like routine of whips. And I know that some people, when I watch them, it seems like they have like a rotation and like an actual sort of schedule for which ones they work on, and which seems for somebody like me, like that would be what I would do too, because I like having sort of like knowing what I'm doing and not just having just chaos. Mm-hmm. But that hasn't been what I've been doing. I just, whatever, like tonight, if I get a chance tonight to, you know, okay, everybody's in bed or whatever, and I'm going to stitch, it's just whichever one, I just pick them up and look at them. Whichever one I feel like working on at the time is the one that I pick up. There's no sort of reason for it. I think, and as far as like picking up a new one, like if I'm going to start a new thing, I always think like I've got, you know, I go through my patterns often, and like I think I'm like, I want to start this one next, or I want to start this one next, and I think I know what I'm going to do. But usually it's just, okay, this is the day that I'm going to start a new thing. Just depends on what mood I'm in that day. It could just be anything completely random, which doesn't seem like a great way to do it for something that's going to take years and might like survive the generations, like be passed down to kids or whatever, like just sort of just started on a whim. But that's the way that I do some of them. Like I'm working on one now that I started over Christmas, that I made a video before Christmas of, you know, possible options of new ones that I might start over Christmas. And the one that I ended up starting was none of those. It was just one that I was flipping through, and my wife looked over and was like, hey, that one looks really nice. I'm like, yeah, that one does look really, okay, I'm just gonna start that one then. And that's the one that I started.
I love it.
Just jump to the top. John Lennon jumped to the top too when I found that John Lennon one. I dropped what I was doing and I just did John Lennon.
That one's amazing. Yeah, I think I've done a lot of the interviews, and I think I would say 90% of the people that I've talked to, it's just whatever calls to them is kind of what they're going to work on next. And there's a small handful that do have a rotation or a set way, but I mean, and mine's just a small sampling of our community, but just how we all just kind of pick whatever calls to us, or whatever is kind of like right there. It's pretty common. Yeah. You got to pick what makes you happy. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to like lock myself into, okay, I have to work on the sunflower cottage tonight if I'm not always in the mood to do that one.
Yeah, that's what makes it hard, because I've thought about rotations, because there's pieces that I want to get finished, but then it's like, I don't really feel like stitching on that tonight.
Yeah.
And then there goes your rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are down to the last question.
Whoa.
Yeah, see, it wasn't so bad.
It wasn't so bad at all. I don't know why I was hiding under my blanket all morning, hyperventilating.
I loved all the messages that I was getting from you. Wasn't that bad. I told you it wasn't going to be that bad.
I was panicking, and I canceled yesterday, and then I uncanceled, because like once I say that message, I was like, well, maybe even though I don't need to do that anymore, maybe I should just leave it, and like, but then I'm gonna feel bad, and I'm still gonna want to do it, and then the stress will come back. I might as well just do it.
Yep.
Just do it.
Yep. Just
unless it'll keep the kids away from me. There's no reason not to do it.
Yep. And it's gone great.
Oh well, thank you. I hope so. I have no idea. I have no sense of how this is going.
Well, we're laughing, so that's good. Yes. So the last question is my most favorite, and it's, what's the best thing that has happened to you within the past couple of years?
Well, this might be the one where I get a little bit sappy, but it's gonna have to be when my son Dylan was born, because I'd never had my own little mini me before. Never even thought that I wanted one. And then along comes Dylan, and just seeing him, like, he's growing up so fast already. He's only 2, but he's already like, he's walking and he's talking, and he has definite likes and dislikes and definite interests, and he's got a really wicked sense of humor. He knows what a joke is. He knows how to be funny on purpose. It's like, just watching him like turn into this awesome little person is like, and I get to be his dad. He only has one dad in the whole world, and it's me. And I just can't even imagine anything better than that.
I love it. I love it.
Although, if you want a jokey answer, even as great as he is, right after he was born, I did have a vasectomy. So as great as he is, he's enough. We don't need another one.
Awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, being a parent is absolutely amazing. And my advice to you, because my girls are 22 and 16, so they're older, is enjoy every single day. It freaking flies so quickly.
Yeah, I know. I'm finding that already, even though he's only 2, but he's 2.5, like he's going to be 3 this year. And like, yeah, there's stuff that I'm like, I wish that he would stop getting into everything, or I wish that I could have my stitching book back or whatever. But as soon as I get that stuff back, I know that I'm just going to be like daydreaming. Remember when Dylan was 2, and remember when he was I'm already like, I carry him like a baby, like I used to, but he doesn't fit anymore. He's humongous. And I'm like, remember he used to fit in one arm, and I just carry one. I can't even hold him like that anymore. What happened?
It's so crazy. It's like a blink of an eye, and they're just grown. And where did the time gone? I wish I would have done this differently, or I wish I had this back, or anything like that. And
yeah, I remind myself of that a lot when I'm getting like really tired, or really just frustrated, or just like I actually tell myself, like, there's gonna come a day where I wish I had this back, so I might as well just enjoy it.
I'm sure you told yourself that day when all of your floss was all over the place. You're like, it's okay. I'll look back on this.
Someday, yes, I'll laugh about this. Yeah. Tell these stories about the stuff that you used to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you that you get that experience, because I'm getting close to being heartbroken, because my oldest is going to be graduating college in a couple of weeks, and she has plans to go away, and she's my mini me. She's like my best friend that goes everywhere with me. So I just want to rewind.
I know that's hard.
Yeah,
I think about that even now, even though he's only 2. I think about like that day coming, and how that doesn't even seem like that's that far away. Yep. And I'm already kind of sad about it. Yep. Trying not to just like, I'm trying to just enjoy what's happening, but like, like when you like 10 years to me doesn't seem like that long, or 10 or even 15, like that doesn't seem like that long ago to me. But like that's a whole lifetime for that's a grown-up kid. He'll be graduating high school in 15 years.
Yep. I think at the end of my interview with Betsy, she gave some amazing advice about, you know, how I was feeling with that. And so, you know, she's somebody that I think both of us need to go talk to for some wisdom with
She's really good for stuff like that. I've had like Betsy and I joke around a lot, and we like we talk about like inappropriate things and we laugh. But I've had some actual like serious talks with her, and she is really good for stuff like that, for like giving good advice and making you feel better about stuff. And she is really good. I love Betsy. I know she's watching. Love you, Betsy.
I love you, Betsy, too. Yeah, she's pretty amazing. So yeah. Yes. All right. Well, that is it. We made it through the interview.
Wow. And I really enjoyed this. Yeah, I always stress out in the lead up to the thing, but the actual thing itself is never
just sitting and like, talking. That's all it is. So
it was fun.
Thank you so much for saying yes. I feel a little bit of peer pressure.
Thank you for asking me.
Thank you to Betsy and Emily for helping, right? Because I think they Emma? Oh, Emma. Yeah, Emma. Sorry. Yeah, Emma.
I'm just gonna start calling her Emily now.
Emma for you know, kind of giving you
they were good. They were good at encouragement, and they've been talking me like Emma especially has been, even up to and including like 5 minutes before I turned this on to talk to you. Emma's been like talking me off the ledge. Like calming me down. Don't be daft. Don't be daft. She keeps saying, don't be daft, which always makes me laugh.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to convince her to do an interview at some point too. So now it's your turn to get on her.
I think that she would be really good. She thinks that she's like, well, I'm still brand new and I've no business doing this or talking about this. I think that would be like a plus to talk to somebody who's a little bit more brand new. And I'm not that. I'm still I've only been doing it for like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm no seasoned pro. I'm not like Michelle Bendy or somebody that has 200. I have like 12 or 13 videos.
Yeah, no, we'll get on her now, since you know she helped you. You can help her.
Yes, she'd be really good.
All right. Well, thank you again for taking time out of the day to chat with me, and we'll say bye to everybody on Flosstube.
Bye.